Cheers, my beautiful sister. We are doing this. We are here, my friend, on this Friday afternoon.
Very excited to be here.
So I want to tell the story about how we met because I always say that there are these serendipitous moments around every corner. And if you rise up from thinking of the task list, the to-dos, and get out of your own head and really lean in to who's around you, the relationships that you can make are life-changing. So Michael and I had moved to New Jersey, creature of habit. One of the things I hated about moving was the fact that I had to find a new gym. Because I'm like, fuck, like it's close, it's easy. I don't want to find a new gym. So after hours of Google searching, I came across RippedPHL in Cherry Hill at the time. And I saw the website and I was like, fuck, this looks amazing. I went to my first class, 5 a.m. I felt like I was in a nightclub, like just jazzed up. I also simultaneously almost thought like, oh my God, I might throw up on this treadmill, but I'm having a beautiful time getting the workout of my life. And that was your baby, or is your baby. Ripped PHL.
Yeah. What a great time that was to meet you.
Oh my God. And I would look forward to every day at 5 a.m. going into that gym, seeing your face, going into that room together. It really was like a journey.
Honestly, it was. I mean, first of all, I love the fact that you described that you're in a nightclub and simultaneously feeling like you may throw up all over the place. Because that is the perfect description
It really is.
of the class. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, I love it. I hate it. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun. Wait, it's done? Well, when can I come back? That's kind of
Yes.
the way I think about it. And then your energy in this room just like lit the entire place up. Honestly, every time I walk in, I'm like, there's Meg. There's Meg. Heaviest weights,
Yep.
right at her same spot, ready to kick ass with a smile on her face. How? How?
So I want you to share with all of us your journey because you weren't always in fitness. You had this finance background and somehow long and behold find your way to owning a gym. So talk us through that journey.
It's a bit of a long, crazy story, but you know what? I think it's one that a lot of people go through in different ways. So I went to school for finance. And my goal at the time was to be a commodity trader. I was living in Chicago at the time where commodity trading is one of the biggest industries, or was, shall I say. So back in the day, I hate to date myself, but back in the day, that was one of the biggest industries in Chicago. And I started clerking on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange when I was in college for a required class that I had to take, and fell in love with it. The energy of being on the floor, the excitement, the math, the knowledge of finance, economics, everything just all rolled into one. It was to me the dream job. As I got a little bit more involved with it, I realized that it's also a very high stress job. So yeah, my dreams of actually becoming a trader kind of like dwindled a little bit. So I started looking within the industry once I actually graduated, because as I was graduating, the floor actually went from an open cry pit to on the screen. So you took it from the excitement, the energy, interacting with everybody onto a screen. It was great in certain ways, phenomenal because, took out a lot of things that shouldn't be happening in the markets out of there. But the excitement of it just kind of all left for me. Because now you're trading on a screen against, a bunch of other people from all over the place. So really you could trade wherever you wanted as long as you had a good connection. So I ended up going in and working for PNC Bank in their investments division for a little while. I managed a commodity trading firm for a little bit. I love the industry. It's great. I think that, there's a lot to learn. I love the fact that it was a male dominated industry, and just breaking through that, you know, mindset of it has to be men only.
Mhm.
Because to be honest, on the floor of the exchange, females down there, you clerk for the male traders.
Mhm.
So it was a little bit different. That was always my mindset. I'm like, I want to do something different. No matter what I did, it had to be something different. So then after a while, after I got married, we were moving back and forth between Chicago and Philadelphia. And then we decided that, because my husband was a commodity trader himself,
Mhm.
um, he decided that he wanted to switch careers. So at this point, I'm like, well, what am I going to do?
Mhm.
Because we had this great compromise that we were going to live Chicago and his favorite place, which was the Jersey Shore.
Mhm.
So
A
a
little bit of a different pace.
little bit of a different pace. And I was like, geez, that's really lovely that we made this decision because we both want to be happy. But, well, what am I going to do?
Mhm.
So now I was kind of backed into this corner again and started thinking about things. And I'm like, what could I do? So we were still kind of like majority of the time in Chicago at this point. And I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur at some time. Yes, I wanted to get into the financial industry. Figured to me in my head, I'm going to figure out this male dominated industry and then I'm going to take it, I'm going to do something with it. What? I don't know. But I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. My dad ran his own company for years. Actually, at this point, he still was running his company. He actually just sold it a couple of years ago. But watching him and his path and becoming who he was, I knew this was something I really wanted to do in my life. So I actually, because I have a love of wine and cheese, I
One
went
of the
to,
many things I love about you.
right? Who
Yep.
doesn't love this? Um, I, to me, if you want to get into something different, you have to do the research. So I went to every cheese store in Chicago and applied to work the counter.
Mhm.
I had a couple great interviews where people are like, what are you doing here? And I
Mhm.
was like, I want to learn about cheese and wine. So I just kept trying. I kept trying. I actually never got hired. I never got hired. But it's okay. So that was one area that I was going to pursue. But then once we decided for sure, all right, we're moving back to Philadelphia and we're going to be Philadelphia based at this point because my husband's from here. He wanted to switch careers completely and he has a lot more connections here. And he's like, I have connections that I can give to you. And so once again, my dream of cheese and wine went out the door and I was back to trying to figure out what to do.
Mhm.
So I would always loved fitness, always loved it. To me, it was like a great way to just escape the day, stay healthy. There was a lot of benefits to it. I loved everything about it. So I ended up doing the core power yoga teacher training.
Mhm.
I don't even like yoga. Again, it was one of those things. I'm like, whatever I do, I'm going to research. So I did their 200-hour yoga certification, um, went all the way through to the end. And that's when we made our actual transition out to the East Coast. Um, at this point, I started working at a gym down at the shore in Avalon, New Jersey,
Mhm.
teaching a couple yoga classes, just trying to figure out what am I going to do.
Mhm.
And then I just started learning about personal training and headed back to Chicago. See if you can keep track of how many moves I have in my life. That's going to be a good question for you later on. I went back to Chicago for about 6 months and I just spent the entire time training for free, learning about bodies, learning about differences. And in my head, at that point, I made the final decision in my head. We're going to move back to Philadelphia for good. No more moving. And I'm going to take my love of fitness and my passion to be an entrepreneur, and I'm going to combine them together. And that is when Ripped BHL was created, actually, when I was out in Chicago. So that was now, it'll be 6 years. 6 years we've been open in April, end of April. Um, so yeah, when I moved back here full time, it was go time. Just started the process of getting ripped open and doing the research on exactly how I wanted the workout to be. And yeah, that's how it all started.
As you're telling this story about your path and your journey, I love how you share with us all the roads that you went down that then were closed.
Yes.
because I think so quickly we think this is the path. This is what I'm meant to do. I want to do wine and cheese. I'm not getting hired to even do a cheese counter. Like, what the fuck? This isn't for me. And then could quickly go back into finance, which is your safety net. Like, when you look back on that journey, like, what do you think it was about you or what you saw maybe as a little girl or who you always were? Like, what do you attribute it to that perseverance to just keep trying different paths till you found one that fit?
I think it's just a coming of age. For me, I'm
Mm,
actually a very shy person by nature. So if a door closes, at younger me would have been like, okay, cool.
mhm.
I'm gonna walk on. Um, as I got a little bit older, and actually, honestly, being on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange changed my personality completely. You are
Mhm,
in this male dominated area where it is cutthroat, it is hardcore. Every second means thousands of dollars.
mhm.
And you're thrown into this, and you need to make split time decisions. You need to do your math immediately. There's so much pressure, there's so much tension that at that point, as a little college girl, I grew up a lot.
Yeah.
And you know what? You couldn't be worried about making mistakes at that point because you have somebody's livelihood on the line. And, sitting there and being concerned, oh my gosh, did I do this right? That's going to cost somebody their job.
Mhm.
So at this point, I built my confidence. And I think you just need to find that thing that is going to build your confidence and allow you to make those difficult decisions because, 18, 19-year-old me was thinking, well, this is what you have to do in life.
Mm,
You go to college, you graduate, you get a normal job, you stay with your job, you go on your daily basis, and that's that. At that point, I feel like there was something that this passion I think was always within me. I was always a competitive person with sports. I liked to be that person that was a little bit different. Um,
mhm.
and it just kind of ignited that passion as I got a little bit older and just realizing that it's okay. It's okay. If that person says that I can't work at the cheese shop, well, fine. I'm going to go to the next cheese shop. If they
Right.
say no, I'm going to go to the next one. And then once you get comfortable having the door shut a couple times, then you start to get a little bit more confident like, okay, I'm going to give this a try. And then I'm going to give that a try. And then once somebody sees this and then they ask you about it and they're like, gosh, you didn't give up after the first place
Mm,
said no, then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, it is okay. It is okay. And I can tell somebody else, like if you came to me right now and you're like, if that cheese store said no to you, did you stop? I'd be like, no, I didn't stop. Here's what I did. And once you give somebody that advice,
mm.
it gets you even more confident to go about your way. And I think that's just one thing that people like really need to experience is that not everything is going to be cut and dry. Not everything is going to be the way that you expected it or the way that maybe your parents expected it or your friends expected it. I mean, I grew up in it's not that small of a town, but a smaller ish town where everybody followed the exact same thing. They went
Mm.
to the same school. They went to the same college. They still live back in Wisconsin. They still do this. They did this. They did this. Maybe they ventured away for a little bit, but then they all came back. I'm the one that just forged my own path.
Mhm.
And I love that. I love that. And I always wanted to do something different. Even going down to Chicago at 18 years old, when I have University of Wisconsin, which is a phenomenal school across the lake from me, I was like, no, I want to go to a big city. I'm going.
Mhm.
I'm just going.
And
So
what
I
I
think
hear from you is, and I love this, is that you were confident enough, or I guess confident isn't the word. Maybe more aware is the word I'm looking for. Like you were aware enough to dig in to that inner knowing of what you knew you wanted to do. And I think so many of us run like all hell from that if it's not what we were culturalized to do.
definitely. I mean, I can think about my first job. It was as typical could get, 8 to 5. I
Mhm.
sat in my desk. I worked on spreadsheets 8 to 5. I
Mhm.
knew within the first month I was there, I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not. And I
Mhm.
think most people wait 10 years before, yeah, most
Yes.
people wait 10 years to make that decision. I knew in that first month, I was like, this is not for me and I will not stay here. And even if it means taking a little step back and, it's difficult. It was difficult initially, especially when I left my first job to be like, well, I used to be in finance. And I used to tell everybody that all the time. I used to be in finance. Well, I'm just taking a little break. I'm just
Uh,
doing it because,
the
yeah.
identity thing, right? Like, who
Oh,
am I?
totally. And I love the fact that I was a female in the financial industry, which is still, again, heavily male dominated. And that used to be part of my identity. So when I left it, it was a little bit of, oh, I used to be. I used to be. And this is, I set out on this path and all of a sudden I changed my mind and I did second guess it. And then all of a sudden, 6 months go by and I was like, wait, what, where was I before? I don't remember. And I
Yes.
think it's that like fear for the first few months, always. Everybody's going to have fears. You're never going to look back and be like, oh, I was so happy to leave my job. There's always going to be the fears. But it's like, can you just keep taking that step towards what you really want to do, even if it's an unconventional path? And eventually those fears just start to go out the door, or this idea of what you thought was the norm go out the door and you feel more confident with your decision.
So I just started watching. Well, I guess I have been watching the and just like that, Sex in the City. I mean, listen, I'm not all gung ho on it. I think we should have let it be. But when I was watching the Sarah Jessica Parker documentary of it, and she had said, every day I am terrified and also exhilarated at the same time. Did you feel
Yeah,
like that too? Like looking back on this journey, this fear, but also yet at the same time, sort of this, yeah, exhilaration to push through.
exactly. And I think, you know, there's the fears and they last for a little bit, like I said. But I think the more that I speak to other people, because now I have two instructors who have left their regular jobs
Mhm.
and they want to pursue fitness full time. Um, you know, Similar path to mine, a little bit different. In fact, in the terms of I actually never really went full time fitness before. I went more entrepreneur side. Same type of thing though. These girls just left their job and they came to me because they
Mm.
knew my story. And if I knew somebody that had gone through this before, I think those fears would have gone away much faster.
Mm. Mhm.
But at the time, I didn't really know anybody who had gone, kind of rogue from their planned journey. And it was definitely a little bit more difficult. But always the excitement of like, I need something different. I just do. Because I'm not going to sit here at a desk and it's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen.
I
So,
don't know if you even realize that you do this, but this is one of the many things I love about you. Being in that gym with you, seeing you talk to that community that you build, it's never just about the workout. Like you always share your story. Here's my history, here's where I was, and here's where I am today. And listen, I was scared as all how to do this. Like you allow yourself to be very vulnerable.
mhm.
And to your point, it allows other people to put their masks down.
Yep. In anything that you do, whether it's work, professional life, personal life, gym life. I mean, it's intimidating to go to a gym. It
Yeah.
is. It really is. And I always feel because I remember my fears of walking through places. And also me being a shy person, I know my fears of walking through the doors at wherever I go.
Mhm.
Um, when you come into the gym, yeah, I'm super outgoing. Once I leave the gym, when I go to the same salon, because I know it's going to happen when I walk in. I don't like to walk to a salon and be like, oh my gosh, where is everything? And I just always take those ideas and I put them into whatever I'm doing. So, same type of thing. If we're going to talk about switching careers, okay, I'm going to tell you my fears. I'm going to tell you everything that happened along the way. Same thing if you're in my class. Hey, let's talk about the fact that you're not lifting what you want to lift, because I was there. Let's talk about the fact that like you're in a facility that's dark and loud and there's a lot going on, and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm
Mhm.
going to talk to you the exact same way and tell you that I was there. I was there. And I think sometimes that people forget to point out the fact that they went through hardships, or they learned lessons, or they, you know, put out all of the issues that you've had along the way, because that's what endears people to you. And that's what actually builds people up, is not, look at me, I lift the heaviest weight in the entire world. Well, no, I had some scrawny ass arms and
Yeah.
I had never lifted a weight before. Well, okay, I was always an athlete, but I didn't actually lift and like work out for myself besides sports until, you know, 10 years ago. And at that point, I was 93 pounds. And it's just, talking through my experiences, I think is what helps people get better, instead of just the end result. The end
Well,
result's the easy part.
I love that. As you're telling this, my mind's flashing to, coming off a 15-year corporate career, which we've talked at length about. But,
Yeah.
I had worked at length with people for over a decade, my friend, over a decade. And I knew jack shit about them because I was so quick to say, okay, I got you for 30 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. Here's what I need. Thank you. Goodbye. But
Hmm.
the moment that I let my mask down and I was like, here's who I am, just the relationship changed. Like someone I can think of in particular worked side by side for over 10 years, barely knew anything about him. The moment I told him about this podcast community and this movement that I want to do and help other people connect with themselves, he had shared with me all of these passion points that he had about music. And he was even in some TV shows that I had no idea for 10 years. So I just think, to your point, when you let your mask down and share your own journey, because you haven't always been in this spot you are today, it took you time to get here. And when you share that, just the connection it breeds with other people.
It really does. It really does. Once you open yourself up, it gives people the opportunity to open themselves up. And you know what? If I only saw you as like this badass girl that came in and worked her ass off in the gym, would we ever see this other side of you?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You have a whole other side of you. If I knew the things that I've learned about you in the past, say, year, back then, like I just thought you're gung ho. Here,
Yeah.
this is, I come, I do this, I do this, I do this. Um, if
Oh, that's a
I
fun tone.
right? Little
I like
party
that.
tone. Little party tone.
Mine is just the generic ringtone that I got. I'm there with like the 70-year-olds that never change their ringtone and they just leave it the same. I like that. That's fun.
Your phone goes off and literally everybody is
Yeah.
sitting up. Well, it goes back to me talking about how I always have to be different. There you go.
I love,
There you go.
were you always like that as a young girl? Like when your parents tell you stories about when you were little, did you always have that different gene?
Always. My mom, I'll never forget this. My mom used to take me to, there's a store in Madison, Wisconsin called Wild Child. And everybody else had like the cookie cutter clothes. I had these like ridiculous things with like, if a girl had a dress on, there'd be like a dress coming off my shirt. Like it was, I always had to have like something different, something crazy, something different. Um, yeah, I think it's always been my personality. As much as I wanted to like follow the crowd because it's easier when you're shy,
Yeah.
um, I had to be different. I always had to be different. And it was always my clothes as like a little kid, always the clothes. And then once you get older, then everybody has to wear the same thing. And,
Right.
I gave up some of that. But um, yeah, it's like almost going back to my roots. Like once I got to like, college, and all of a sudden I realized like, I don't want to be standard. I want to be different. So yeah, took a little break from it, but it was always there.
Do you feel like, if you can go back 6 years ago, which probably feels like a lifetime after all the shit we've been through, but do you feel like when you started Ripped, when you began to build that community, that it was almost like a homecoming for you?
It was, but I feel like, honestly, I feel like it started out that way. It
Mhm.
really did. And it was more or less to think about the entrepreneur side.
Mhm.
That to me felt like a homecoming. What really felt like a homecoming though was during COVID. Um,
Ooh, do share.
yeah, to me, it was like you run and you dig yourself into a hole and you just work so hard and so much. It's like 6 years ago, opening Ripped, it was this like aha moment of, yes, this is what I want to do. And then so it started out as a high, and then it just kind of like work yourself down
Mm.
into this hole of like the daily tasks. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do that. I need to be up at 4 in the morning. I
Wow.
need to be running the whole day. I can't go to bed until 11 p.m. I have to be checking my emails. I have to be doing this. And it turned into
An addiction.
almost, yes. And I'm a workaholic. If you give me a job where the place is open from 5 a.m. until 9 p.m., because in Center City, we're open until 9. People are out of the studio by 9:30. So I was on literally, and people
Yeah.
came into the studio at 4:30 in the morning. So by the time I checked my emails, I was working from say 4:30 in the morning until 10 at night. And you just work yourself into the ground essentially. I didn't
Mhm.
feel burned out. I mean, some mornings, yes. I didn't until COVID hit, and you were forced to take a step back. And I sat there that whole time and I was like, I need to keep going. I have to keep going. I have to keep doing something. So that's when we started our on demand. And, then I started working on the business. And I was like, this is my chance. I'm not going to sit still. And I just viewed everything from above for a few seconds instead of me being in the day to day. Here's what needs to happen. And here's what needs to happen. And that was that aha moment again of I was being a technician. I
Mm.
was working in my business, never worked on it. I wasn't building the community. Um, and I knew that there was more. There was so much more inside me at this point. So when we reopened, now I have this aha moment of, yeah, this is who I really am. It started 6 years ago and it got lost, and COVID brought it back out. And now I know exactly what I want to do in my business. I know how I want to structure it. I know how I want to have a team. Whereas before, I didn't want to say that I had a team or that I was, the CEO of the place.
Right.
It's a scary word.
Right.
It really is. It's tough for me to say you know, we have a hierarchy. It was really uncomfortable for me to say. So it was almost like this aha moment of it has to be that way because things need to get done and everybody wants somebody to look up to. And
Yes.
and that's why I have a business coach right now because I want somebody to look up to. Um, and he's just nice for people, to have that direction and to know what's expected of them. Have somebody hold them accountable. It feels good. It doesn't feel bad.
Right.
Um, so that to me was actually like the real aha moment when I look back through everything. Yes, I felt it 6 years ago. I felt it moments throughout. I felt it when we opened Cherry Hill. I felt it different times, but this is the real time.
There are so many nuggets in there that you just dropped that I almost wanted to just bounce out of my seat and be like, amen, yes.
Yeah.
Because, I look back and I think of all of these, I almost created my own tornadoes because I thought that it made me, air quote, accomplished and successful. But I was creating this own like the tizzy that I was living in and jamming my schedule so much. It wasn't other people, it was me. So if you could go back, Katie, and tell yourself pre-COVID, the woman that was working in from the moment she cracked open an eye until the moment she laid herself down, like what advice would you give her?
A warrior is not made by working yourself into the ground.
Mhm.
In my head, it was I need to work longer, harder, and more, or else I'm lazy.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
it's not true. And if I wasn't on my laptop at all times, if somebody texted me a question and I didn't respond within 2 seconds, I was like, I'm lazy. It's okay to take time for yourself. Now
Yeah.
that's still a work in progress for me. But hey, at least I realize it. At least we're working on it. And at least I am taking a step back. You know what? I sat at the gym all day long. I sit at home now.
I love that. And I love how you said that, listen, I didn't fix this overnight. Like I don't wake up one day and all of these addictions I've had are gone, but it's the celebration of the recognition.
Exactly. And I know you and I have similar personalities in terms of like the energy and
Yes.
the need to succeed, the need to get things done. And I'm sure you had the same feeling when you wanted to switch your role and what you're doing. Here's my list of 1,001 things that I want to do, and it's going to be done by tomorrow. And I'm not going to stop until it's done.
Yes.
Right.
And then when you don't check that one thing off, like you've done a million things correct, but the one thing that you don't check off is the thing that haunts you. And then as you're laying
Always.
your head down at night, you think,
Yep.
you know what? I suck. I failed.
I
You,
failed, or I got to get up right now. What
yes.
can I do? It's 4 a.m. Let's go. Let's go.
I can't tell you how many times Michael and I have been laying in bed. I'm like, oh, I gotta go. And he's like, it's like 10:30. We're about to go to bed. And I'm like, no, I gotta send this really quick.
Do this.
Yes. So is there one micro step? Because we always talk about the fact that the reason we never start anything is because it seems like an uphill battle and we don't know where to start. So we just stay in
Mhm.
our comfort zones. For our listeners that are feeling like you and I do, what is one micro step you have for them to just make one small change that they can just start to feel a little breathing room in their days?
To me, it's planning.
Mhm.
I'm such a planner. So there's two different things. So one, if you're thinking about making a move to something different, is research. To me, it's research. The more that you can learn and the more people you can talk to and the more advice that you can get, the better. The better. Anybody and everybody, anybody, I don't care who it is, grab a cup of coffee and learn. Learn everything you can about this, whatever you're interested in. Um, but if like your days are overwhelming, to me, it's planning. Every Sunday, I feel so much better knowing I break out what my overall goals are for the week and then the individual tasks to get there. And I plan it out for the full week. And you
Mhm.
know what? I have maybe 3 items a day that I know I'm going to get done.
Mm,
I
mhm.
know I'm going to get done. I can physically check them off and they're gone,
Mhm.
done. And then if I have time, I have my overall weekly goal. I can put a little bit of time and effort into that. So that to me is just breaking it down day by day because I used to write a list of everything under the sun that needs to be done from 0 to 9,000. This all needs to be done. And you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. But when you break it down and then you break it down even further into 3 tasks a day, can you do 3 tasks a day? Yes.
Mm.
You can do 3 tasks a day or 2 tasks, well, depending on the time or on the time that you have to allot to it. It's not 20 tasks. 1, 2, 3, done.
Mm. I love that
You
because
can check it off.
it's also sort of like this, and I'm sure you do too. I almost feel like when I'm able to do that check, almost like I've shown up for myself. Like I got my own back. You made this a priority and you showed up for you. And you didn't let the rest of the world derail you into all of these other things. You made this commitment to get this done and you did it. Do you feel like that
Exactly.
too?
I do. I do. And that's why I even put in there my appointments, anything that I have. Literally,
Mhm.
I want to check it off. I want to see that thing and be like, even if I have a hair appointment,
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm going to check the thing off because you
Yeah.
know what? Up until the past, like, year, hair would be the last thing in the world that I would get to. Now, every 6 weeks, I'm like, okay, we need to get a color, a cut. Like it's scheduled out because I need that time. I need that
Mhm.
time. I'm not saying I necessarily enjoy it because I hate sitting in the chair for that long, but I bring my laptop. I know what I'm going to get done when I'm there. And you know what? I don't have to feel awful by covering my roots up with
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst. When you
sitting
start
there
to see
and
them come out and you're like,
oh, literally. And like I used to put on a headband to cover that entire area. And I felt off. I would go out. Finally, maybe I was going to do something for me and go out for a drink. And God forbid I went out because I had to put like a hat on.
and then you feel
And
like jack shit. You're
you
like,
do. And like, I'm like, everything is just a cycle of like just not doing anything for yourself. You're like, wow, I'm going to do one thing for myself, but I feel like shit. Okay. So, you know what? Every 6 weeks, my hair is getting done. It's put in there, it's planned before I even leave the salon. The next one's booked. Done. It's a thing. I check it off. I know I'm going to work on when I get there. Like,
it's so funny you say this. So just this week, and you and I have talked about this, and I'm very vocal about it. I'm a Botox fan. I
mhm,
think, listen, if a little poison injection in my face makes me feel good, then let me do it.
do it.
So my girlfriend and I had appointments. It was at like 3 o'clock this week. And I had this, I said to her, I said, I feel like I'm on the Amazing Race, like freaking running around trying to get all this shit done. And a moment I thought, maybe let's just cancel it. And then I thought, you know what? No, because to your point, whatever it is that makes you feel good about you, one, you don't have to apologize for it. But two, you make everyone else in your life a priority. Why not make the thing that makes you feel good about you a priority?
100%. Absolutely. Because you know what? I'm a fan of it as well. Recent
Oh,
fan.
oh,
Recent fan.
good for you. Welcome to the
Yeah.
club, my girl.
I
Welcome.
love it. I
Mm.
love it. You know what? I walk out and like week later, I'm like whole new person.
Yes, that's what, you know what? That's Michael's like, I hate it. And I understand. Listen, I'm injecting a little poison in the face. I understand the hesitation. But
Yes.
my feedback is it makes me feel so good about me. I know that I'm showing up differently because I feel good about me.
Exactly. And you know what? Yes. And Dean has the same reservations as well. And he's like, do you have to put this stuff in your body? I'm like, you know what? Okay. People have been doing this for a while.
Yep.
And my goal in life, like my grandma just passed away 2 weeks ago at 96, 97 years old.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, she led
Hey,
she
it's
led a
good.
good life.
Right? I'm like, and do I want to be that age? No, I don't.
Uh,
She lived her life all the way up. She wanted to play cards at 3 weeks ago. Good for
Was this the
her.
one who would play the cards with a drink?
Oh, she always cards all the time and drinks everything. This lady was she was great. She was great. But that's not my goal in life, to be
Right.
honest. It really is not. I'm like, first of all, people have been doing this for so long. It makes me feel good about myself.
Thank you.
And you know what? If they've been doing it for what, 30 years, if I get another 30 years and all of a sudden they realize that if you've been doing this for 40 years, that's it. Perfect.
Hey, at least I had a good run, you know?
Yeah.
And
So I'm like, are
speaking
you
of
kidding me?
feeling like shit, I want to ask you this. So I've had so many conversations with friends of mine who, hey, listen, I think we've all packed on some pounds over COVID. I certainly have. And they know that they want to lose some weight, they want to get in a workout and program, but they're terrified because they haven't been in the gym in a minute and they don't want to fail or look like a loser. Like, what is a recommendation for a woman that's listening right now that knows that she wants to lose some weight, she wants to feel better in her body, but she's scared shitless, she doesn't know where to start? What's one thing she could do?
Honestly, it's all about finding a supportive community.
Mm,
I think that's the biggest thing because we all walk into a gym and if you don't know exactly what you're going to do, it's intimidating,
yes.
right? It's even intimidating for me, and this is my job. If I walk into a big box gym and you see a bunch of big guys and they're all working out, or a bunch of ladies that already know what they're doing, you're like, oh, great,
Yeah.
great. Okay, what am I going to do? The community, I think, is the biggest thing. When you walk through the door, you know at these facilities, when you walk in that door, which is the hardest thing to do, by the way, but I would say book the class, book it and go. You know what? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to walk in and be like, it's not for me. It's not for me.
Mhm.
But if you can find the place that has the right community, when you walk in that door, you should never feel bad about where you're at. That to me is the biggest thing. Somebody that's going to walk, when you walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm nervous. They're going to be like, I got you.
Yeah.
We're all nervous when we walk through those doors. It is just finding the right spot and the right fit for you. Because we all think to run to a gym. Like I said, that's the easiest thing to do because that's the spot we all think of going.
Mm-hmm.
But just learning, what do you really want to do? Maybe it's even doing a workout at home,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere where you feel very comfortable for your first few times, finding a program that you can follow online. And then just getting back into that routine, or even just going for, starting with a run,
Mm-hmm.
maybe whatever it is, a fast walk for 10 minutes. And if you schedule that 3 times a week, you already feel a little bit better. And then you can take the next step to like walk through the doors of anywhere. Doesn't matter if it's a boutique fitness studio, a gym, some of the free outdoor groups that there are, you and your friend, whatever it is, that supportive community is the one thing that will get you started and make you feel good and keep you going. So grab your friend, find a spot, do the research, find somewhere that you think, okay, that looks like it has a community, and give it a try. Give it a try.
I love that. You had always said, and I love this, anytime anybody walked in that door, especially any new faces, you would always say, the hardest part's done. You're here.
Yep, it really is. It's really hard to walk through the door of someplace new, anywhere new,
Yeah.
a bar by yourself, a gym by yourself, anywhere. It's difficult. Just getting in there. And then you know what? If you're at the right place, you're going to feel like you want to come back.
Yeah.
Maybe not after the first time. It's hard to level place anything after the first time, but you want to find a spot that you felt comfortable. Maybe you didn't feel like the best one in the room, but who cares? That's the one thing I cannot stress more. People are so concerned that a fitness professional is going to think differently about the people in their classes because of their ability. I don't care.
Right.
Honestly, nobody in this industry is in this industry to train the best of the best. We're here to inspire people that need somebody to motivate you. Like, that's why you're in the place that you're in. Otherwise, you're going to be at the gym doing your own programs.
Mm-hmm.
It is not about that. It is not. To me, if I have a class full of people, my favorites are the ones that are working their ass off.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not the best ability. I don't care what your ability is. I care if you push out of that comfort zone, whatever ability you are at. I don't care if you're walking on that treadmill, but you're like, I'm going to go for a fast walk right now because I feel good and I know I can. But I've had people in there who are professional athletes and I'm watching them work out. And I'm like, good Lord.
Half-assing it. Yeah.
You have all this ability and you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think honestly, that's one of the things that we all have in our head is that people are going to judge me. No, if you're in the right spot, like our studio, that room is dark.
Yes, it
That
is.
room is dark. Yeah. It's your workout. I don't care what the person next to you is doing. The person next to you doesn't care what you're doing because they're just trying to breathe.
That's true.
And not
Ain't
die.
that the truth? Ain't that the
Right?
truth? Yeah. Like, we always think the spotlight is on us in any scenario.
Totally.
You're at a dinner, you're at a networking event, you go into the bar, whatever it is, you think the spotlight's on you. Well, let me tell you what, everybody's so worried about themselves. Nobody's looking at you but you.
Yeah. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong feeling that way because again, if
We
I
all
even were to
do.
walk into another studio, I would be like, spotlight's on me.
Yes.
It's not. It's not. It is not.
I
I've been
love that.
recently because so many people are coming back to the gym right now with these fears. And I recently took 3 people who've never worked out before, ever. They were interested in it. And I helped to get them started. And I just learned so much about that thought process again, because I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot the process. And I was trying to explain to them and they're like, I don't want to go to this class. There's too many people. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Just walking them through.
Oh, you're so great. I want to go back to what we had talked about a while ago about this burnout you had pre-COVID and wearing all the hats and doing all the things. And you still wear a lot of hats. You're an entrepreneur, a therapist for so many, a partner, a daughter, a dog mama, which you guys have to follow my girl. I'm going to link it. I'm going to link her Instagram handle in the show notes because her puppies are amazing. But you still wear all of these hats and you're doing all these things. So how do you feel today that you're showing up differently and you're maybe putting a little intention into your days? Yeah. Katie's having a bit of a coughing stroke. If you hear ambulance sirens in the background, it's because I had to call 911. Ah, you're taking it like a champ.
You know, that like end of cold feeling? We're there. We are there.
Well, my friend, you are. And I also like how you took a swig of champagne. If for those of you that aren't watching us on YouTube, this is one of the many reasons why I love my girl. As she's having a coughing stroke, she takes a sip of her champagne.
I mean, who doesn't, right?
You're the best.
Cure for the common cold, lady. Cheers.
Sure is. I love you.
Okay, so going back to wearing all these hats.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to handle. Some days I love it. Some days it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Other days, let me tell you, the therapist one can get to you.
Yeah.
It's really just letting things go. Like things used to bother me so much, so much. Like, you know, you have the side of me that is like a perfectionist, and any little thing that was out of place, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. If one of the trainers wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing, I can't handle this. I can't handle this. It's literally learning to let things go and to not devote too much time and effort into one particular thing. Because let me tell you, trainers, clients, a business, and 2 puppies. By the way, who does that in their life? Who besides me? Oh, I don't know. We're just getting over COVID. Let me go get 2 puppies and just think this is going to be a great idea. So
I love that idea of letting go. I love that. Because I've seen that start to show up in my life. Like I felt that I had to put my hands around the wheel of life so tight and control every outcome. And when it did not go the way I wanted, I felt like I failed. It failed. I just was strung so tight for so long.
Same. Every little thing. Every little thing in my life had to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just letting go of some of those things. Yeah, I like to be detailed. Yes, I like to have certain things done a certain way, but just devoting a certain amount of time to try to get it the way that you want it and let it go. Let it go. Come back to it again. So yeah, you know what? My 2 puppies, I want them perfect. These guys have gone to more training sessions than anybody should ever send their dogs.
Yes,
I mean, I love the place, but let's be honest, we're paying like the entire year of them staying alive. Great. Great. But when I got home, you have to still work with them. It's not like you drop them off and the magic puppy comes back and like they're perfect. So I was like, geez, I need to devote this much time to them. I have to devote this much time to work. And I was getting me overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So you know what? Yeah, okay. My puppy just shit in the corner. It's going to be okay. It's a mistake. It's an accident. We're going to work on it. And okay, we're done. 15 minutes, work with her. Boom, we're on to the next thing. Trainers, here's exactly what we're going to do. And like, just making sure I'm giving tasks to other people and that they have the way to find the answer. Because that was one of the other big things too, is that if I'm wearing 9,000 hats, why don't I give a couple hats away?
Right.
And make sure that they can find every single thing that they need to answer those questions. So boom, I'm out of it.
Was that hard for you to delegate?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you start? So for someone who's listening right now and is thinking to themselves, yes, I feel this way, but I don't even know where to start or where to delegate. Like, what's one thing that you look back that started to relieve that tension with delegation? Oh, Katie's choking again, but but the last one went so okay, and she's back.
We're back. We're back.
You're back.
You know what? I should probably take some of this good old cough syrup, which actually I spilled all over my backpack the other day. We were legit cleaning my money,
cleaning my money.
wiping it.
Don't you hate that when you have like you're carrying something in a bag and you feel it start to seep out like on your leg or on your back and you're like, oh shit, this is all over the place. I just know it.
Yep. That was that. I pulled up my laptop and I'm like, seems rather sticky. Oh, yeah. So I think one of the easiest things is just finding one person that you trust. One person. And the easiest thing for me was because I don't like commitment. And I realized this about myself. And I was having the hardest time ever trying to say to somebody, this is my fill in the blank. This is my manager. This is my social media manager. Whatever it may be. Those titles scared me because that to me meant I'm committed to that person. Commitment. I'm committed to that person. And if they make a mistake, I may need to fire them. Not saying one mistake, not saying that mean. But you know what? I never wanted that relationship to go south. So what I did is I eased into it and I found the one person who I knew was committed to me. I knew I could trust. And I knew that this girl she's been working for me for 3 years. And you know what? I'm not saying she had the skill set for everything. She didn't. She really didn't. She was committed to me and she had dedication and she had some skills. I'm not saying like she didn't have anything. She had some skills and she had the dedication. And I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I gave her 1 or 2 tasks. Hey, can you help me out with this? I saw how she worked through them. I saw how we worked together to see, can I give her this? Does she do it? Does she do it the way I want it? And we started small. And then after that, I started looking at my team and thinking, who else can I give some items to? Who else can I work with? And to be honest, I have to say, it took me having an outsider look at my business and look at my tasks and say, these go to this person. These go to this person. This goes to this person. It took her 10 minutes.
I love that point. Just you don't have to know it all. Just be brave to ask somebody.
And be okay to say that you don't know. This lady is in boutique fitness. She coaches on the side. So it's basically telling a peer and a mentor, I can't do this. I could not take that step above and commit to saying, okay, Haley's going to be my manager. Right. Sally's going to be my assistant manager. Malik is going to be my head trainer. And here's what they're going to do. But you know what? They needed that.
Right.
They needed to know. Yeah. Because we got to the point, I gave them a couple tasks just to see. Baby step to start. Then I started handing them more and more and more and more. But they're like, I don't know, what is my role? And they were trying to complete their task as a trainer or working the front desk. And there was just roadblocks along the way. And I just needed to tell somebody, I need your help. 10 minutes. And she was like, boom, boom, boom. You're done.
Oh,
I didn't need her to delegate anything else. I didn't need her to tell me how to hold them accountable. I needed her to tell me their role. And she's like, what do they do?
You know,
Okay.
sometimes it's the easiest things that once we hear that, we're like, why didn't I know? Why didn't I figure that out? It was right in front of my eyes. But when you're so close to it, it's foggy. But just to have enough bravery to lean into someone in your vertical or whatever you're trying to figure out, somebody that you trust that has done it and done it successfully, to look at all these things you're doing and help you delegate them. And then it's one small task
Mhm.
at a time, which is what I
Yeah,
got
it's
from
like
you.
just starting with the little tip and then building upon that and then making sure they have the answers.
Oh,
Like I
that's so
said,
great.
like we have a main document that say Katie gets hit by a bus. Please don't. But if something happens to me, these guys can essentially run the business if they have to.
Mm,
They know where to find the answers. Some of the things are locked away that they don't need to know yet. But if they needed to know, they can have access to that document.
oh, I
But
love that.
they literally, step by step, there's a process for every single thing. And that takes a lot of hats away from you. I no longer need to answer questions about how do I fold the towels? Well, because there's an exact process, literally, for folding towels. Seems silly, but I want the towels to be a certain way. And if I want
Consistent.
them to be a certain way, there's got to be a process. And they need to know where to find that process. And that took forever. Forever. It's just making that and then slowly delegating the task. So I think step one is just making sure you have your processes down, whatever your processes are. Processes down, delegate one or two tasks, see how it goes, and then start to build off of that. And then if you need help, if you need somebody to come in and say, here's what you're going to do, you do it. You get that help.
And if you're the only one that knows how to do it, right there is a sure as hell sign that you need to put a process in place, my friend.
Yes.
I love that. I'm going through that right now with building this community and the movement and the business. And my business coach had said to me the other week, like, Meg, I know you're not going to want to do this because you like the fun and the sexy things. You like to talk to people. You like to be out there, but you need to put your processes in place because that's the only way that you're going to grow. And I was like, God, that is such a relevant point because it's not fun and it's not sexy, but it's the only way that you can truly give yourself some breathing room and grow.
Smartest thing ever. You will never. And that's what happened with honestly having a second location.
Yeah.
And again, without COVID, second location would still be here. But at the time, why was I running myself ragged? Nobody else knew how to do my job. Besides,
Yeah.
there's 10,000 things that go into a studio besides teaching a class.
Yeah.
And only I knew how to do that. So it's
That's
literally just getting things out of your head onto paper and putting a little bit of trust into somebody.
that's a tweetable, that's like an Oprah Winfrey tweetable moment right there, my friend. You are
Yeah.
amazing. We are at time. I cannot believe it. This went by so quick, but if our community wants to find out more about you and stay connected with you, where can we find you?
Instagram, easiest spot to find me. Or if you're in the Philadelphia area, come and stop by. We're at 15th and Walnut. Fun workout. But otherwise online, I'm on Instagram at Katie_RippedPHL. You can find my dogs on there. You can find RippedPHL on there as well. But lots of fun and exciting things always. And I love questions. So please ask away.
And I'm going to link the gym. First of all, I can tell you right now, it is an amazing, not only is it an amazing workout, it's amazing community. The music, like you leave feeling like you could throw over a car, like you feel on top of the world. So I'm going to link the website. And then I'm also going to link Katie's Instagram handle because one, she's just an amazing human. But two, she shares just a lot of great tips and those two doggies. I mean, that in and of itself.
They now have their own Instagram page too.
Oh, we'll link that too. We'll link that too
Little
because
stars. What can I say?
they are worth it. My friend, thank you for being here
Thank
and
you for having me.
your vulnerability and sharing your lessons. You are just a beautiful human being, and I'm so happy to have you in my life.
Thank you so much. Cheers
Love
to
you.
you.
Cheers.